The following program contains views that are not those of WVTC, iNetworks Communications, their subsidiaries, affiliates, or financial supporters.
Good afternoon, people of God. You are tuning into the Solutions Radio Show. I'm your host, Pastor Corey Wright. As always, we know the problems are what we need to solve, do what we need to solve them. What we offer on this platform is solutions dedicated after acts of action that bring about true change, not just talking about change, and no excuses for excuses are man's tools of incompetence that build bridges nowhere and monuments of nothing, broadcast live from the WVTC radio and television network. You can see I'm already tongue-tied because I have a special guest. She's so beautiful. I'm in here fumbling. I can't get it together. Y'all help me. Listen, you are in for one of the greatest testimonies ever. A very special lady, somebody that's been to the bottom and worked her way to the top, somebody who is very gifted and talented as a DJ. All the wonderful things you see far as my brand, even this background, you see the commercials, everything is done by her. When you talk about a super talent, very beautiful lady. So guys, don't blow up her inbox because I don't know if she's single or not. Don't blow up her inbox, but you all about to hear an amazing testimony. It's my honor and my pleasure to present Miss Davina Mitchell, y'all. DJ, what's your name?
DJ Fly Diva.
DJ Fly Diva. Wow. How you doing, Miss DJ Fly Diva? What you want me to call?
You know what? I got so many names. Davina's fine.
Davina's. Yeah,
I'll be Davina today.
Yeah,
I'll be
Davina is
today.
fine.
How you doing? I'm doing good.
Good. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Just like that.
Well, you don't introduce because who know you better than you? Who knows Davina better than Davina?
Absolutely. Davina Mitchell, as he put it, affectionately known as DJ Fly Diva. I DJ on the stepper scene, so I won't get too much into that just in case you want to talk about that a little bit later. I have a 24-year-old daughter.
What?
I do.
Okay.
I have a 24-year-old daughter. I'm a dog mom.
Dog mom?
Yes, I love animals. I have a dog. And we'll tap into some more things as I don't want to spoil too much. I'm sure you got a lot of questions for me today.
Well, I had a dog, but my dog yesterday had relish and mustard and ketchup on it.
Your dog name is Frank, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Red.
All
That's what he named.
right. All right. I hate those things.
What?
Yes.
No.
Childhood story. You know how when you're a kid and you're hungry, the answer to everything was go eat a hot dog. I can't stand hot dogs to this day.
I know.
Can't stand hot dogs.
Man, your mom work hard. Your mom like, listen, go eat them hot dogs. Leave me alone. I want to hear all that. You go boil them because that was the easiest thing to cook.
Exactly. Then they have you put it in the microwave, and if you overheat it, it busts up the middle, and I just don't do hot dogs. I just don't.
You know what? Listen, for all you hot dog lovers, you know, the views of my guests is her. You know, I love a good hot dog.
Absolutely. But I don't.
Well, you are you are doing so many amazing things. DJ, you said we talk about DJ, but let's just talk about you as a child?
Okay.
You know, tell us a little about your parents, if that's okay.
Absolutely. So actually, this whole DJ thing came into fruition as a child. I've been around music all my life. My father, both my parents were skaters. So I've been in the skating ring since I was 3 years old.
You've been skating since you were 3?
I've been skating since I was 5. But when I was 3 years old, my mom would take me to her skating session. So I'd be the youngest thing in there sitting on the wall watching her skate around the rink.
Okay.
And as I got older, the music, like I've been into music since I was a kid. So that's where the whole DJ thing comes from. My father was a non-traditional DJ. So in the basement, he had the 12s. He had a room like this. The walls were recessed in, and every album you could think of from A to Z, the Ohio Players, Commodores, Osley Brothers. He had every record you could ever imagine. And at the age of 5, I'm on my tippy toes and I'm switching the records and put the needle on the record and hitting the crossfader, and a DJ was born.
You wanted to scratch it.
No, I didn't have to do all that. I've just really been around music all my life. So fast forward into my grammar school days. As a kid, I wanted to be an accountant. Math was one of my favorite subjects.
Okay.
And at some point in there, my mom, she went to hair school. So I was around that a lot. So believe it or not, I went to hair school. I used to do hair. I wanted to own my own beauty and barber shop. So the entrepreneur has been in me since I was, I don't know, a young kid, single digit ages. And so I went to school for hair. I used to barber.
So you could fade somebody up?
Yes.
Wow. Now, I didn't know that. You know, when we were talking, you could, wow.
Yes. And that was that was my passion, was wanting to own a beauty and barber shop.
Okay.
And I got married young, and you know how you guys are. So he was just against me cutting hair. And that passion, it's still in me, but it went away.
You know, that's funny because I have a friend of mine that does hair. He's a beautician. And, you know, he was worried about us clowning him about being a beautician. Like, you know, he like, oh my God, you're a beautician. You know? So, but he ended up doing it, and he's making.
It's money in that.
Oh,
it's money in that. I wanted to own the shop. If you heard, I just would have been licensed in my own shop. But a lot of the owners, I would like to say they're getting $600 to $700 a week off booth rent. So if you got 5 or 10 chairs in there, you do the math. It's money in that. Wow. It's totally money in that.
But then you have to also, you cut hair and you have electrical expenses and
overhead isn't that bad. You're looking at a place. If this studio was a barber shop, easily I could see 4 chairs in here. You know, so imagine if you had a room twice the size, the overhead isn't that bad. You're gonna pay the rental fee and then your electric, gas, and the rest is profit.
Okay. Now, was this after high school, or when this was in high school, you was cutting hair, doing hair?
I started doing hair at the age of 13. I started cutting hair probably 15, 16. So I started with.
And people let you cut their hair?
Yeah, I have a younger brother. He's 7 years younger than me. So I started practicing on him, and I had at the time that I was coming up in the family, I came up around a lot of boys, and so I had guinea pigs. I had test dummies, if you will. So I had a couple of opportunities to practice on their haircuts. I'm my brother, and then I had a cousin younger than me, so I would cut their hair, and that's where that began. And then as I got older, of course, the older guys would see that work, and then they would let me cut their hair.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Now you ain't never cut no roosters in nobody's head. Whether you like they like you ain't never touched my hair. No.
You know what? You know. There is one head that I always messed up on, my own, Everybody else would be on point, but I would cut and barber my own hair, and that's where the mistakes would happen. But I was okay with it. And it got to the point where I learned how to right my wrongs, if you will, and correct the bad haircuts. So if I messed up your head, only you would know, only I would know it. I wouldn't even tell you.
That is good. Thank you for letting me know I need a haircut. Survey said,
I'll cut your hair.
yeah, okay. But I'm bald. You mess up my hair. It's something wrong with that.
But yeah, that was at the age of 13. So now I still have a select few that I will cut, but I don't do it as a business.
Now, what about the style? Did you always have the style of your life in high school? Like you just got such style.
No. So I was a nerd in high school.
What?
Complete nerd, honor
The
student.
nerd that turned into a butterfly now. Oh my goodness.
I was not popular. I was not popular at all. I played basketball when I was in high school. I ran track. Was very good at track. That was probably one of my favorite things. But I was all things nerd. The spelling bee. I was in a math competition. Science fair projects. I went to state a couple times. So I was not a popular person in high school at all. Not at all.
Wow, no boyfriends in high school.
I have a boyfriend. That's not what you asked.
Oh. You're the nerd, you know.
But I towards the later part of high school, the latter part of high school, around prom time, there was a guy that I dated in high school. We went to actually both the junior and the senior prom. And he worked my nerves so bad I couldn't wait till prom was over to dump.
Wow, you were cold. Okay, so you get out of high school. What did you? Because you already have an entrepreneurial spirit even then.
Yes.
What was your goals when you got out of high school?
So when I got out of high school, I wanted to do a 4-year university.
Okay.
And that did not necessarily happen in that way. So I immediately went to what do you call it? The local colleges.
Okay, yeah.
I forget the term for them, but
Junior college or
yeah. I went to Daly, and I was at Daly for. I did not get a degree. Let's just say that I was maybe months shy of a degree. I ended
months?
just months. It's a long. So it was financial thing, a little bit of lack of information, if you
Okay.
will. So just things of that nature. But I ended up. I've been working a job since the age of 16. And from
Wow.
16 to 21, I held 3 jobs. Yeah.
Hard working.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that kind of got in the way with the education. And I ended up working for a company downtown. The name of the company is Standard Parking. So if you go downtown for anything,
No, you did work for Standard
I
Parking
worked for
because I work for
Standard
Standard Parking too.
Are you serious?
No, you did.
So I worked
Them and General Park.
I worked for Standard Parking, believe it or not, for 23 years. I worked with Standard Parking from 19 up until 40 something.
Mm,
I'm very close to 50 right now. So I worked with
unbelievable.
I worked with Standard Parking. And at the age of 25, I started at 19. At the age of 25, I was promoted to manager. And from 25 till maybe 42, 43, somewhere up in there, up until 2018. I know that. So from 97 to 2018, I was employed with Standard Parking, and I had made it to manager status to the point where I had 3 to 4 locations that I had to oversee. And so it was that career that I knew that it was confirmation that I was indeed an entrepreneur, because working for Standard Parking as a manager, you're practically running that business.
Yes.
You're running that business,
Right.
you know. So from financials to HR to everything customer service related, I did it all. I did it all. And like I said, I started at a very young age. And I've always been taught that experience is the best teacher. So while I didn't have a physical degree coming from a school, I had that degree of hard knocks coming from the physical labor, hustle and bustle. I'm 25 years old, managing people old enough to be my mother. And
Mm.
it was a struggle, but
Resentment because they felt like
yes, yes. And I had to demand my respect. So I would tell them, this is the law of the land, and one of us have to go. If you can't oblige, and it's never gonna be me. That's what I just used to tell them. Not gonna
one
be
of
me.
us gotta go.
It's not
but
gonna be
it's
me.
never gonna be
It's
me.
never gonna be me. So either we learn to get along, or you can go look for another place to work. And that's what I would tell them.
You good at HR. Listen, it ain't that you fired. You just don't have a job here no more.
No.
You can go on permanent vacation.
And
now.
the beauty of standard parking is, to get fired, you weren't fired, you just relocated.
Right.
You don't work here,
Yeah.
you go work over there, you know? And so I did that. As I mentioned to you, when I started, I was single, no kids. And then in 2000, I'm sorry. So in 2000, I got married. And in 2001, I had my daughter.
Now, okay, I know you don't want to make on the dreads up, but okay, how did you guys meet? How did he meet you? Did you walk past him? He like, woo, oh my goodness, or was it a mutual thing, friends? Because I'm sure you was probably cold back then. You cold now, so, but how did that happen?
So I had a male friend that we're like best friends. He's like a brother to me. But I had a male friend, and my first husband was his brother. So from hanging out, he was really like a brother to me. My male friend and I, his name is Mike. Mike and I were friends. We were like, he's like the brother I never had. My brother from another mother. We both had an interest in music. He would, when he'd go through his things with his girlfriends, he'd seek advice from me and vice versa. But he was older than me. He was like my big brother. To this day, he's still like my big brother. And my first husband was his brother. So I met him through him.
So it's like sense. He walked in, was like, what up, little bro? Who is this?
No, actually, he was playing hard to get.
He was playing hard to get.
Yeah, he was playing hard to get.
Oh, I can't, listen, that's hard to believe, because you approach me, I'll be like, oh, okay,
guys say that until they're approached. They said back in school, the guys mistreated the girl that they liked. Why is that?
I don't know about that. I never mistreated a lady. I don't, especially somebody I like.
Well, that used to be the thing. Like, if I would come home and tell my mom, oh, this boy, he keeps picking at my hair. She said, oh, that's because he likes you. And that's just terrible. But he was playing hard to get.
Yeah. I don't know about playing hard to get. I ain't gonna play hard to get about 2 seconds. Okay. Well, if you insist, yes, let's go out. So, how did you end up winning them over?
I don't even remember. That was so long ago.
Okay.
That was so long ago.
Yeah, because he probably like, listen, because I was always told that a woman is naturally aggressive, and that if she can find somebody that she can be aggressive with, that is a plus, because women are always being chased. So when you can chase somebody, it makes a woman feel better. Like a man, you're a beautiful woman. You've been in a bar. You've been a beautiful woman. You got one woman sitting up there, she's going to talk to you as long as you keep her drink filled. As soon as that drink gets over with, that's it. Because I've talked to a lady in a bar years ago, like I say, years ago, and I was almost done with my drink. Mm-hmm. She had almost three-fourths of a drink left. And I said, well, I'm going to order me another one. All I heard was, she threw it down. Give me another one, too.
I have never been that kind of woman.
No, but, or he could have been intimidated.
I mean, no, it was just a situation that eventually became mutual. Okay. He dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's at the time. He cooked, he worked, you know, he was a good brother, family guy. So that's it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Wasn't nothing super spectacular.
No, nothing spectacular. Nothing spectacular at all.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Now, if you don't want to talk about, you know, I don't want to get, you know, all of it, you know.
It's so much more to me than that phase.
Yeah. But now, was it that you were looking for love, or were you lonely at the time, or, you know, because a lot of times when we, you know, we have parents, and I'm sure your parents are very protective, right?
Okay.
We be lonely sometimes, and we, you know, we see somebody that's
So that I was young, as I mentioned before. I got married when I was 22, 23. So that was kind of young. And I it's not a lonely thing. It's the whole fairy tale thing. You looking for love, and I tell my daughter's about the age I was then. That's the age she is now. And I tell her all the time, take your time. Don't be in a rush, you know. And if someone told me that back then, I didn't listen. You know, I was in a rush. I was in a hurry to be a wife and be a mom and all those things. And so that was it. It wasn't lonely or necessarily looking for love. I just felt like I had to be married. And I don't know why.
okay. I mean, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know. And I'm gonna tell you that, you know, a lot of people want to be married, and nothing wrong with being married. You know, you gotta try people by the spirit,
Right.
you know, see what fruit they bear and who they are inside. Because I have a friend, and I'm gonna have him back on my radio show, who married his wife the same day he met her.
Really?
We were 21. He's still married. I still talk about this.
Okay.
You know, he met her downtown, right there on, it was on Wales.
Okay.
Wales between Randolph and Lake.
Okay.
It was a Mr. Submarine right there under the thing, cross street from the Billy Goat Lounge. And hey, he walked up to her. We sitting down in there eating at Mr. Submarine. Her friend walking there.
And they got married the same day.
He walked up to her and talked to her, said, listen, you know, I don't know why I'm attracted. I don't know what it is about you, but I believe you my wife and everything. Can we just sit down and talk, eat? She said, okay, sure. They talking like they know each other forever.
Wow.
He said the craziest thing to me that I couldn't believe he said to her. He said, listen, I love you. I don't know why you right, but I know you right. Let's get married today. I thought that was the craziest. Her friend I'm looking like, man, are you crazy? He was serious. But her answer was even scarier. Her answer was, sure, let's do it.
Oh my goodness.
So all of a sudden, right there, that man, her best friend became, we got to stop it. He said, when she did. And they got 5 kids today, been married since, I'm 51. They've been married since, happy, and he always know. And I asked him to this day, I asked him on the radio, how do you know? He said, because God told him.
Okay.
He said, I couldn't have picked the right person. You know, and then I can't talk because I've been down the divorce court so many times. The judge know me by my name. Hey, Mr. Right now, hey, again, which one is it? You know, so I can't pick, but I do believe what he said. When you meet somebody that's so spectacular, you rather take the chance and regret than not take a chance.
I would not have gotten married on the first day. I just wouldn't. In fact, on my way to my wedding, I got sick. See, that was a sign.
The view.
It was a sign. It was just a sign. And I hard-headed, and I went ahead and did it. But the blessing is my daughter.
Beautiful.
My daughter came out of that relationship. Yes.
So I take it, you guys are not together now.
No, it was over before it lasted.
Oh, wow. Well, don't be looking at me. Y'all still over here looking at me that way. It was over for last. She over here smiling at me. No, here it is. So I take it that was probably one of the hardest points in your life.
Yeah, one of the first hardest points. Yes.
Was it more after that?
It was Well, no. After that, it was more of a retooling moment, a coming into who I am. I was 22 years old, so we went our separate ways when I was 25. So that was
Hmm.
like another chapter in my life. My daughter was going on 2. I was still employed, so it wasn't a rock bottom situation. It was more of a uh experiencing another version of myself, coming into another phase of life, another chapter of life, identifying what I want and what I don't want, you know.
So was it a moment where you said, why am I here? Why do I keep making mistakes? You know, because I'm sure your mom gave you a lot of advice.
No. So one thing about me is experience is the best teacher. So I have very little regret on anything that I do.
Kind of deep.
Very,
You got to talk. You
very,
explain that because
very little.
I've never heard nobody say that.
You know what? Because if you do if you don't do it and you don't fail, you won't understand what it's like to win. You know, just as simple
Say
as
that
that.
again.
If,
Wow.
if you don't do it and you don't fail, then you don't understand what it's like to win. And it's just that simple. So if I didn't have a bad relationship or a failed relationship, I wouldn't know what a good one is. You know, a lot of times we'll do something bad for so long that we become immune to it, and that becomes your version, your perception of how it's supposed to be, especially in relationships. So if all you've ever been
Wow.
in was bad relationships, and I don't think that relationships are bad. As I get older, I think that we don't take the time to determine which energy is a good match with your energy. So he's not a bad person. He just wasn't for me.
You know, I spoke about that on my last show.
Uh-huh.
Where I talked about that God never put Eve together with happiness or compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
It was about the journey, about somebody you can grow with.
Absolutely.
You know, and you know, a lot of times people choose happiness and compatibility over ability to be able to work with somebody and grow.
Absolutely.
You know, positive outcome.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we put the ours together, what do we
Mm-hmm.
produce?
Mm-hmm.
So that is powerful. Live with no regrets. I've never heard anyone say that.
I don't regret.
So you're not a really emotional person?
On the inside. On the outside, no. I can be labeled as non-emotional. But I am sensitive. I bleed and cry just like everybody else do. I just don't wear my heart on my sleeve. And that's to protect me from being hurt. I don't wear my heart on my sleeve.
Was there a distrust for men or relationships, or was it that battle cry that I don't need nobody, I don't want nobody?
So when we fast forward to now, I have that mindset. See, I got married again after that, but not immediately after that. But I got married again after that. So if we fast forward to now.
So the judge know you too, huh?
No.
I know y'all ain't come back.
No battle cry. Actually, after the first marriage, I wanted to get married again because I don't feel as if I fulfilled the fulfillment that I was looking for in a marriage. I wanted to build. I wanted to increase my family, which I didn't necessarily do. But my second husband ended up adopting my daughter. So she was 6 years old when I met him, and that's her dad. You know, he's pretty much raised her. So I wanted to build and just do all the married couple things, you know, and I experienced all that in the second marriage. So the first marriage did not deter me. I wanted to try again, but what I learned was learn yourself. You know, learn yourself, learn how to love yourself. Don't go around looking to seek validation for who you are through a man. Approve yourself. Don't wait for a man's approval of who you are.
You know, that's deep because a lot of times we choose people for the situation we're in now and
Absolutely.
not our growth ability
Absolutely.
or the evolving process.
Absolutely.
So you had a really good, successful second marriage?
Can we call it successful if it went to divorce court? But it was. It really was. It was a better representation of my idea of marriage.
You know, that's powerful because for me, you know, sometimes when we don't let go of what is in us, we've been through, we'll pick somebody as a manifestation of what we're going through, that trauma bond. And like, I'm going to choose somebody like before therapy, you know, 3.5 years of therapy. Y'all, everybody know I work with the Association of Black Therapists, social workers.
Okay.
They sponsor my show. They always on them on my shows. And, you know, I took up 3.5 years of therapy.
Okay.
And so, it changed my life. I found, you know, everybody say, man, you really great in church, but no, I found mine in therapy because I had to get rid of what was making me make the decisions I made. So everyone that I picked needed to be saved.
Okay.
Because subconsciously in my inner spirit, I needed to be saved. So a lot of times we choose good people that just not good for us.
Absolutely.
Or where we're going.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you think, because you're very strong, you're not a person that ever stay down no matter how bad it gets. No. Do you think that is intimidating to men, or do you feel like men can handle strong women like yourself?
So I have a 2-part answer to that.
Wait a minute, y'all heard that? Did I ask the right question on that one? Yeah, you did.
So I've been told that men are intimidated by me. Sometimes I feel like one of the Incredibles. Did you see that movie? So the Incredibles walking around and they got these superpowers, and people don't know that they're incredible, that they have this spidey sense, if you will. And my strength is one of my it's just one of my strengths, I guess you can say. I am a strong woman and I keep a lot of things on the inside. But in terms of being intimidating to guys, I'm going to say yes, because I have never been that damsel in distress. And that's when a lot of men are at their best, when they can come and rescue you out of a situation and take you to a next level. I'm already on that level. So when I meet a brother, he has to level up. And it's not a bad thing. It's just who I am.
Come on.
It's just who I am. So I've met guys that were definite no-nos, and you can tell that I can tell that you're a no-no in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the conversation. But I've met guys who said some weird.
How you know they're no-no? Don't leave us there.
They just say.
How you know they're no-no?
I met a guy once who told me. So at the time, I've always, been employed. So financially, I was always sufficient, and so money was never my reason for wanting to date. I'm a woman that wanted to date for love, for companionship, for someone that I can grow with, push to be the best version of himself, and he pushed me to be the best version of myself. Well, what I run into, and still to this day, are men that want to compete with me. So if we're having a conversation about like the conversation we're having now, when you asked me about what did I want to be, and I just told you a barber. I've been cutting hair since I was 13 years old. Now, if I met a guy today and he just started cutting hair 2 years ago, and I say, well, I've been cutting since now we're in competition with each other. Huh? And why? Why are we in competition with each other? What I would like to do is push you to be the best version of yourself. You know what I mean? And yeah. I can do that without stepping on your toes or competing with you. But a lot of men, I don't know why they feel less of a man when they meet a woman that in their mind don't need them.
Let me answer that. And I think that a lot has to do with the men. Like, I have to have a strong woman. Uh-huh. I can't a weak woman. I run all over. I have to have a strong woman because that's what I'm used to. My mom, my dad. I met him at 25, so that's all I know is strong women who make dollars out of dimes.
Okay.
But I know as a leader that if I have a strong woman, I have to put her first. Or, a leader doesn't have to always be out front.
Correct. Say that again.
A leader doesn't have to always be out front because I had a friend of mine who's been on my radio show. He has a company that's worth $1 million.
Okay.
Over $1 million export, whatever they do.
Mhm.
but his wife that he married,
Mhm.
you beautiful nerd,
Okay.
PhD in finance. And I always tell a story. This is one of my greatest testimonies. Was I'm smart
Mhm.
and he's smart. He was
Mhm.
doing $175,000 worth of business, so we're both smart.
Mhm.
I said us combined together ain't half as smart as her.
Mhm.
So he said, Pastor, will you come down and because we're having rough times, will you come and counsel us? I said, okay. And I said, you gonna listen to what I say?
Mhm.
I'm gonna tell the truth. And I said, listen, I said, what I think you should do is stay at home
Mhm.
and show your two daughters what a real man is
Mhm.
and turn the whole company
Mhm.
over to her. Finance, it's your company, it's y'all company. She gonna get half of it anyway.
Mhm.
Turn it all over to her. She make all the decisions.
Mhm.
She run the money. She run the company.
Mhm.
She does it all by herself. She just gives you quarterly reports
Mhm.
and that because you cannot do what she do.
Absolutely.
And I looked at her. She looked at me. I said, "Listen, it's your time to say something.
Uh-huh.
You agree 100% with me." She said, "Well, I want him." I said, "No, you don't. Tell the truth. It's your tell the truth."
Mhm.
She said, "Yes, I think I should."
Mhm.
He did it.
Mhm.
He was a little reluctant the first 6 months till she bought back the.
Mhm.
It went from 175 to 3 something.
Mhm.
He's okay. Well, let me take the girls to let me do that. They kill it.
Yeah.
But so my thing about that is that you have to be able to have a strong woman to use her for her abilities, because if she wins, we both win.
Absolutely. And that goes back to what I previously said about meeting your match. Every all that glitter ain't gold. Everything you meet isn't for you. You can go to the dealership and shop for a car, and the car with all the bells and whistles may not be what you need. So a lot of men, I feel, don't understand that it's not that women don't need men. I think we all need and want a companion, but a lot of women need a man for different reasons.
Question:
Yes.
Do you choose off of purpose or preference?
A combination of
Because
both.
if you don't,
A combination of both.
if you haven't corrected your choice, then because the question is, have there been good men that would have been good for you for where you going that you said, no, they don't meet my preference, that I walked over?
So I have a testimony.
Can the church say amen? Yeah.
My second husband, who by the way is a very handsome guy, and I have to say that beforehand. But when I met him, he was not my type. He was not. I wasn't attracted to him. I wasn't looking for him. I didn't. I just so I had that happen to me where he was not my preference. Okay, but he came with purpose. And in that purpose, in that time, he's older than me. So he was that man's man. He was that courtship person. He showed me the fairy tale man that's in the book. He showed me that. When they talk about my knight in shining armor, that's what he was. So it came to the fork in the road where I had to decide. He's not your preference, but he came with purpose. And his purpose was to treat me right, to show me a better life, to make me better. I'm a movement by myself. There's a song that says that. But I'm a force when we together. Yeah. And he made me better and I to he. That's just the way that it was. But my meeting him and even my today. So I'm going to say from that point in my life, I was 31 years old. And I feel like everything in my life from that point on had purpose. I feel like from that point on, everything was spiritual. Before I met him, I said to myself, because I was single for, was that 8-9 years, something like that. I asked God to send me my Mr. Right. That's what a lot of women do. Please send me my Mr. Right. I asked God to prepare me for my Mr. Right because I knew he was coming. I wasn't ready for him.
That's what my last name.
Right. So
right.
So at the end of the day, that was my journey. That was my journey. After the first husband, I went through single folk stuff. And after I got sick and tired of that lifestyle. And it was just searching for myself. Nothing bad per se. Just
You were evolving,
absolutely.
and the person was good for the chance
Absolutely.
in the caterpillar experience.
Absolutely.
But when you became
Absolutely.
a butterfly, you
Yeah,
realized
absolutely.
I can't stay out here.
Absolutely.
No
So
more.
I stopped going out to the nightclubs, and I actually went to seek myself through the Lord. I went to church. And I was raised in the church, but I had stopped. I stopped. A lot of us, we stopped. And prior to meeting my husband, I went to church, and my journey was to become a better version of me for whatever's to come. One of the hardest things for us to do is let go of things that we need to get rid of so that God can bless us with new stuff. So if he had
that's
come
good.
any sooner, I would not have been ready for him. He probably wouldn't have even been attracted to me. So I had to have what they call the come to Jesus conversation with myself and get myself prepared. There's a saying, if you get ready, you don't
Stay ready.
Yeah, you stay ready. You want to get ready so you can be ready. That's what I'm trying to say. So by the time he came into my life, I thought it. I wasn't interested in him for my own reasons. And like I said, he's a handsome guy, but he did things so that I have stories of how he won me over. He did things that I didn't know existed in guys, such as
I'm all in.
So
He
like
did
I told
what?
you, I'm not the woman that need a guy for money. That was just never my thing. So that wasn't, you could flash all the money in the world in my face and it wouldn't, if I don't like you, I don't like you. You can have $1 million. If I don't like you, I don't like you. So I'm all about how you treat me. I'm all about good energy. He never raised his voice. He never got an attitude. My daughter, for some strange reason, was crazy about this guy. And
Trust kids.
yeah. And what's funny is he worked with the city. He was a plumber. And
You work for the city too?
Oh, we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later. So my daughter used to do this thing where when I met him, I had some form of a plumbing issue, and he actually volunteered to come in and help me out and that type of thing. But anyway, my daughter caught on to that. And you know what she would do?
That's funny. Babe, listen, I know we just dated. I need to come pick my pocket.
I was the type of person while we on the phone, I'm fussing and talking about what's going on in the background.
You can't make this up.
And I'm fussing about my landlord because she hadn't sent somebody over to my toilet needed riding or something.
Okay.
So when my daughter saw what he would come by my house for, she started flushing her toothbrush down the toilet. And she would say, we need him to come fix the toilet.
Wow.
And she just would do this all the time. And I'm like, don't you flush one more thing down this toilet. But it wasn't even that.
What?
It wasn't even that. I still didn't like it. I just didn't want to be bothered.
Listen, I know you don't like me. I don't like you, but can you ride my toilet?
I just didn't want to be bothered, right? And so he told me, he said, I'm going to keep calling as long as you keep answering. And every time he called, I answered. But every time he...
Hello, is it me you're looking for?
So that was this one day. He would, my daughter was involved in dance. She's been involved in dance since she was 5.
Okay.
And she was involved with dance and she had to do
We got the same color on.
Always. I'm always in black.
Look at that.
Shameless plug. Shameless plug. Okay. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Okay.
And so when she would go to rehearsal, I had 2 hours to kill. And in conversation, I told him where I killed my time at. It was in Applebee's. So he just started showing up at the Applebee's and we kind of built a relationship there every Monday. And so he learned some things about me.
I like that, bro.
And I had a lawn service cutting my grass at my house. So one day I went to work, came home. He had fired my lawn service. He had cut my grass. He had jumped my fence. And he lit my grill. And when I came home from work, my lawn was cut and I had dinner prepared.
You can win anybody hot on the rib.
So,
Wow.
so to me, I'm like, okay, now you're talking.
Let me get my masculinity back. Cause I'm over here like, oh my god, and he did that with you. He did. I can't believe that. Oh my god, how about the ribs that taste good?
It's the acts of kindness for me. It's the going out of your way doing. I didn't ask him to do that. How dare you fire my lawn guy? So I have a sense of humor. I said, so I take it you're gonna keep this up, and he did. He came and cut my grass every, I don't know, twice a week, once a week, but. To me, that was a stand-up brother. They say guys do stuff just to get with you, but that wasn't the case. He had been chasing a woman, not chasing, but he pursued a woman that kept telling him, I don't want you. And we ended up married for 10 years.
Wow, I don't even want to ask about that 10th year. You don't want to talk about that 10 year because I know everybody out there listening probably like, they had such a beautiful wife. He cut a grass and cooked ribs for her, tender rib tip with the off the barbecue sauce. 10 years, did all this. What could have possibly happened?
People grow apart. Now, it should not have grown apart, but people grown apart. So that was lesson number 2. Now this one hurt. This one knocked me down a little bit. But
was it because you were not your full self in it, and who you are inside was screaming to get out? And maybe he like the reason why I say that because sometimes people could be so happy with you.
Mm-hmm.
But don't realize you're not happy with yourself. You're not who you're supposed to be. So when they change, it's like when you're changing, they don't understand it.
I don't know. I don't know that that's it.
That's my Dr. Phil.
A lot of miscommunication or lack thereof. A lot of my marriage was a classic example of sweeping things under the rug. And I used to tell him all the time, when you sweep things under the rug, you create lumps and in the rug. And one day you're gonna fall and trip and bust your head on all these things that are swept under this rug. And so, they were what I'm gonna call fixable things. But what was interesting to me is when we had reached the end, neither one of us fought for it. And that was deep. And to this day, we're the best of friends. We've had conversations about it, but even to this day, there's no answer as to why we didn't fight for it.
Was it because he probably knew that you were going to greater? Because were you that entrepreneur you are today? Like, because there had to come a point today, because right now you have a multimedia company that's huge, that does amazing work. I'm a client. You are one of the best DJs in the country, sought all around the world. Such a great fashion model who, with all the things you're doing, that person had to come alive, So was it that he knew that maybe subconsciously you settled a little bit with him? Because he was not the same type of entrepreneur, or you a beautiful butterfly, but you just stand in the garden because you are him.
So I'm gonna say no to that to a degree. And the reason why is a lot. So the entrepreneur was dormant in me for a long time. He brought it out of me. Okay. He's actually the reason why I am a DJ to this day. So the talent was all already there. I would DJ the family functions and, play from my phone or my computer, but it was him that knew my passion for music. He knew my passion for wanting to DJ. And one day he went out and bought me a DJ set. And that's when the DJ was born. So he birthed that part of me. He brought that part of me out. I'm not going to say he birthed that part of me. And then fast forwarding to the entrepreneur side, we were married when the mutual decision for me to leave my job, cold turkey. I didn't get fired. I didn't get laid off. I left my job, and I left it twice. The first time I left, I think it was premature. I left. I went and got an office space, and I started one of my business endeavors, and he was in full support of that. And then it got to the point where I just decided I needed to go back to work. So the same company, they took me back, and so he was in support of all those things. Now,
Okay.
when I quit the second time, I think it was a combination of a lot of things. So the second time I gave it a shot would have been I can't remember when I went back to work, but 2018-ish, somewhere around there. I gave it a second shot, and COVID hit.
Oh, wow. Right.
And so a lot of things went in a totally different direction for a lot of people's relationships, but I hate to blame COVID on the downfall of my marriage. I'm blaming it on the stuff under the rug.
Okay.
That's what I'm blaming it on. And so, and we didn't talk about those things. There was a change for him that was drastic. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but he didn't marry an entrepreneur. He married a woman who had a job with benefits and 9 to 5, and she came home and she cooked dinner. And when I became this entrepreneur, that changed the scope of things. So I don't know if that contributed to some feelings inside of him, but I will say that he was 5,000% supportive of everything I did. You know, I wasn't necessarily DJing around the world back then. I was doing a lot of private parties. I've done some amazing things with the DJing, but every event, festival, concert, comedy show I've done, he was there. So I can't say that he got in the way of that. He didn't. I don't know what happened.
I'm thinking,
I don't know what
thinking,
happened.
yeah, you know, like you said, it changed, and I'm thinking that he realized that some people may need to be free.
Possibly.
You know,
Possibly,
that, okay,
possibly.
I can support her, but watching her do what she does, she's happy with it.
Possibly.
You know, because
Possibly.
I'm sure most fighters, most spouses of police officers and firefighters, you know, they probably like, you know, I really don't want you to do this job, but you love doing it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that's just who you are. You have to, it's like Michael Jackson and Jackson 5.
Yes.
They were big together, but Mike knew he needed to be solo
Mhm.
to do what he had to do, because
Absolutely.
sometimes people accomplish things because, you know, sometimes we can see somebody's potential
Mhm.
and we rather let them be free instead of being a hindrance.
Absolutely. The temptations got to break up sometimes.
Wow. So you out of this marriage, you started your companies where now you're an entrepreneur. What was the conversation you had with yourself to do that? Because you know, a lot of people, like I was thinking about Peter, who got out of the boat when Jesus said come, and
Mhm.
you know, but then he seen the wind and everything.
Mhm.
He started to go down, but Jesus lifted him back up.
Mhm.
You know, what was that moment where you knew that it's all or nothing? I got to do this. I have no other choice. You know, I have to go for it into my business and entrepreneurship.
It took a while. So I slipped into a depression. I don't like to use that word, but I did. It is what it is. At the conclusion of that relationship, and it all happened during COVID. So things were shut down. My store was shut down. Business had come to a halt, and it was some tough times. But by the grace of God, I had the right people in place as support systems I was able to weather the storm, but it was still a storm, you know, and the storm is actually still over my head. It's just the sun is starting to peek out a little bit, just a little bit.
Okay.
It's starting to peek out just a little bit. So it was a rough journey. And it got to the point where I got tired of, you know, when you were younger, they would say, when you get tired of bumping your head, you'll stop, you know. I got tired of the same results. And so what I tell people, I've mentored people of all ages, all walks of life on all types of things. And I tell them, if you want different results, you have to do something different.
Okay.
And I had to apply that to my own life. You know, I had to apply that to my own life. You remember the Tyler Perry movie where Janet Jackson was, I think it was Why Did I Get Married?
Yeah.
And she was everybody's counselor because she was giving them love advice on this and love advice, and her marriage was falling apart.
Yeah.
That's me. I'm always giving people the quick and dirty and the positive stuff, what I like to call free game, telling them how to elevate their business, and yet my business had fallen apart. And I had to pick up the pieces. I had to get it together. There's this person called Bill that comes every 30 days, and I had to pay these bills. So
Okay.
I had to reevaluate myself. The first evaluation was how bad do I want the things that I've worked so hard for? How bad do I want this business? Because it's so easy to go back to work. It's so easy to go back to work. And there have been people, when you're an entrepreneur, a lot of times you get more naysayers than people rooting you on, telling you need to go and go back to work. And I have those moments still to this day, but by the grace of God, I have been able to sustain and make things happen. And it's the victories, the small victories, that make me continue.
Now you give so much. You know, you guys have seen my flyers. You have seen the work that you do. You do something every day. My website, from everything. You know, you give way more than what you charge.
Okay.
You know, and you catch people's feelings and you create something that they be blown away by. Because my last book, I'm in tears in the car, like, wow, I can't believe that. What is your when you look at what you do and you give, you know, how does that make you feel, or are you okay with you give so much? Do you feel like, you know, like I'm gonna be blessed so much behind what I do?
I would be living if I didn't give. I'm just, that's what I am. I prefer to give. When people say do what you love, being a blessing, being a vessel to others is something I've always enjoyed doing. Every talent that I have, I've taught it. Every single one. And I've had people tell me, don't teach, you know, your talent. You know, it's knowledge. It was given to me. I want to give it back. That's just the way that I feel. So I love giving, and my talent, my God-given talent, actually, it's creativity. It's just creativity. No matter what I do, I'm a heck of a visionary. I can see things. You can even teach me something. But once you teach me that, I'm going to put my creative spin on it to make it mine. That's what separates me from my competition.
Wow.
That's what separates me. Everybody's doing social media videos. Everybody's DJing. Everybody's making t-shirts. Well, what can I do to appeal to my client? And when I say my client, I have a certain type of client. Every client isn't my client. Just like every person you date isn't for you. You have to identify that when it comes to clients. You know, when you go to certain sports bars or restaurants, that note on the door that says no hats, no gym shoes, that's because they're looking for a certain client. You know what I mean? And so those clients equate to your dollars. And a lot of times we get pigeonholed into, you hear the conversation about people who don't like supporting Black businesses. And then you hear the conversation about businesses that don't like African-American customers because they say they're rude and they say that they're this. I don't even buy into that. I just feel like everybody isn't for you. And once we realize that, it would change, you know, the bottom line. Like I said, if you're getting the same results, you have to do something different.
That's good, because you and Franklin, the CEO of this station, and you guys changed my mind, because I was at one point where I didn't want to work with my people or work with church people. You know, until I met you guys, because when I met you and I started working with you, I'm green. I don't know. You be saying, well, you could do this. I'll be looking like, okay, that sounds good. You know, but, you know, and listen, people, you want to work with her if you got a product, if you there, it's because I'm green. I don't know. I give me a sermon, I can preach all day. But technical stuff and all of this, I don't know. And you're so patient, like, okay, well, let me break it down. Here, you could do this and that and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be 9 times out of 10, I'd be like, well, which one do you think is good? I'm going to go with it. It'd be the right one. It'd be perfect.
Absolutely.
You know, so when you pick somebody that's green like me, you know, where did you get such patience and grace to really help somebody?
Life has taught me patience. I've always been a humble person. I've always been a patient person. You can't learn if you're not listening. You can't lead if you don't know how to follow. So with all those things, you have to be patient. You know, you have to, the statement, if you're the smartest person in your circle, you need another circle. So all those things have shaped me. I want to be someone that I'm not. So how do I get there? I hang around people that are, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I hang around people that are. Energy, iron sharpens iron. You know, energy is everything. If you walk into a room and the people in the room are frowning, you're going to be tense walking in this room, you know. And if you come in there smiling, your energy is going to dictate their energy.
That's good. And
so I've always been of the mindset. My mother used to tell me all the time, you're too nice. You can't be nice to everybody. But I fight her to this day on that, because that's just who I am.
And God
that's just who I am. And the worst revenge, and I'm not I am a vengeful person, but I don't do that. But the best revenge for me.
And that wasn't the most conscious.
Listen,
I hate what I am.
I can be, but I'm not. I'm not. I don't.
You paint me in the corner, I'm like all over your floor.
The worst thing I can do to a person who has wronged me or took me for granted or whatever is leave them alone. That's how awesome of a person I am. Leave them alone.
Come on.
Just leave them alone. And when you don't realize how good it was until you don't have it anymore. So and that's even in business. You know, I've had clients that I have had to respectfully let go and give them their money back, because this relationship between us is not working. And they are calling to this day, trying to right their wrongs, but it's just not worth it. You know, it's not worth it. I would rather sever ties with a person than create an enemy.
Wow, that's deep.
I would rather, because most people that you do business with, it's a relationship to a degree. It's a relationship. You know, you and I have a business relationship, right?
You put that business in there.
So we get to
if
we get to the point of disagreeing in this business relationship, we have established some form of a friendship, a trust, a respect. That's more important to me than your money. So if we got to the point where we're bumping heads, you know, let's just go our separate ways. I will continue to support you. You can continue to support me or not, but I would rather sever ties than to create an enemy. That's just the way I look at it.
I love that. But you ain't got to worry about that, because I can't keep up with you now. I'm more like, listen, if you think that work, let me work. Because, you know, one thing I've known as a businessman, as a person, is that I don't bump what's working.
Mm-hmm.
I don't fix what's working. I don't try to make what's working better.
Uh-huh.
You know, if what you're giving me is working, I roll it all the way, because I didn't know. Because, you know, when I reached out, like, we've been Facebook friends for a while.
Okay. And I didn't know that.
Yeah. You know, I admired your beauty. I'm like, wow, it's a very beautiful lady. And, you know, admired what you do. I just see your step sets and the stuff you do on your page. So I always, because I just felt like the real steppers from Chicago, Illinois. Ain't no steppers like Chicago steppers. You know, so, and I've been on multiple radio stations. And I thank Frankie for the opportunity. And I'm like, well, what is missing? You know, I need to get out here. And so when one day I looked on your page and I seen your company, if I move to the side, you can see Fly Media Marketing. And I seen all the things on there. And I said, okay, let me reach out. And, you know, and when we talked, I said, listen, I need your help. You know, I got the money put up and, you know, I got little stuff coming. So let me direct it all to that, because I love radio. It's my passion. I want to do radio and make money full time.
Absolutely.
And I know you can get it out. So how did you start this company? Where did this company come from? You know, what was the idea behind this company?
So it's an evolution. It's just an evolution. It started. So if I go back to when I got married, one of the gifts that I received as a wedding gift was some decorative drinkware my aunt bought. She bought his and her glasses and she gave them to me. And I told you I'm a visionary. I'm very creative. So I had messed up his glass in the dishwasher and I messed it up terribly bad. And so I said, you know what?
I would be like, yeah, I got to get out of this.
Already.
You
That was a
messed up my
sign.
glass.
See, that was a sign.
Can't mess up my glass.
So I was determined to remake his glass. This is how it started. I was working at the time.
My goodness.
I was determined to remake his glass. And I didn't necessarily remake his glass, but when I tell you I started a whole business doing custom drinkware, and it got to the point where I posted it as a hobby and people started purchasing. And so I started coming out. I was always DJing. So I would take the two businesses and intertwine them. So I would come out to places and DJ. And when I did, I had my own drinkware that I would come out with my name on it and all that stuff. And people would ask for it. And so, but one of my things was when we talked about client, while I did sell to individuals, I wanted the big bucks. You can't get big bucks off one person. You know, you can't get rich off one person, but if you sell collectively, you can start to see a profit.
Okay.
So my approach was I started doing glasses for friends, and then I started targeting groups. I started targeting businesses because it was drinkware. I started targeting nightclubs. There are a couple of name places that I have worked for. And so I started a custom glass business. It was just a hobby, you know, and I like I said, I was still with my job. So it was just side money for me. And gotten to the point where people wanted t-shirts to match their glasses.
Wow.
And so I had a cousin who was doing t-shirts at the time, and he worked as well, and he couldn't keep up with the order. So I would say to him, hey, cuz I'm gonna make the glass. Can you match this glass for me with a t-shirt? And so he would do it until it got to the point where he couldn't keep up with the bulk that was coming in. And so
Bulk.
I did not know that the same equipment that I was using to make my glass also made t-shirts. So when I found that, I was in business. So at that point, I went into the business when I told you I left my job and I got me an office space and I started making custom apparel. And again, you cannot get rich making one t-shirt or two t-shirts. You know, we want a $5, $10 t-shirt. Well, that's just not the way that it works when you're doing custom t-shirts. And then another thing, I think a lot of times African-American owned businesses take a hit because they say we're the worst in service, we're the worst in this, with the highest price. Well, it would take you to get into the game to understand that it's a different ballpark for us when we go out to get these items.
Definitely.
You know, when I would go out and purchase t-shirts in bulk, we don't have the spending power that other nationalities or people have. We just don't. So when we go out in order to make a profit back, we have to go up on our prices a little bit. You know, and then the other thing is it's custom. You know, I would get people tell me, well, I can go to Walmart and buy a shirt, but I bet you can't go to Walmart and get one with your name on it.
No,
I bet you can't do that. So reeling it back in, I had to do something to take care of this overhead. So I started soliciting businesses and things of that nature. And my first big order, it was $1,080. It was a church actually getting ready to celebrate their 100-year reunion. And so my custom apparel business was born. And I always targeted businesses. And now that we step into the marketing piece, that's brand marketing. Wow. That's brand marketing. That's branding. So branding is rocking your brand everywhere you go. Oh, yeah. And so I started branding family reunions, churches. I didn't discriminate. I still did single things, but my goal was to do it in bulk.
Okay.
Funerals was another big t-shirt hit for me because they would do the memorial t-shirts and things of that nature. And so with that, the same equipment that made t-shirts, I could make decals. So I started, this is where I tell you my creativity, it goes into overload. So now,
And you didn't know you could do all this with this?
I bought a Cricut machine. So Cricut is very popular now, but Cricut is the machine I used to put the decals on my glasses when I was doing drinkware. I
Okay.
had no idea that Cricut would cut the stuff to do the t-shirt. Now we're talking years ago. This isn't just now. We're talking maybe eight or 9 years ago now. So the custom t-shirts was one thing. So I started jumping into niche markets. You know, I started jumping into nurses, DJs, the social groups, businesses. And so then I took it to the next level. Something like this. I can put a Solutions Radio decal on this. You know, tablecloths. I can put a Solutions Radio decal on that. So when I would go out and do vending events and things to get my business out there, every time I'm outside, it's a marketing opportunity for me. So when I would go to the vending events, I looked at the businesses that did not have tablecloths, did not have
wow.
t-shirts, did not have business cards, and I would solicit those people. So now I am a vendor just like they are, but I'm providing a service that they don't, and I have something that they need. So that's where the whole fascination with businesses came from. Was bulk was the way to go.
Okay.
Who can I sell to get this bulk? And so then t-shirts evolved to other things. I got hooked up with a travel agent. When travel agents do trips, they like to give away swag bags. So I was the person doing their swag bags.
I haven't heard about any of this.
Yeah, so like custom water bottles, custom. I had one lady took a group to Jamaica and she did water pouches. You know, remember the high C punch pouches? Well, she bought some pouches and she had me put her logo on all of them.
The actual patch, like with the thing in there?
Yeah, she had pouch. So I started custom branding for people, basically. At the time, my business was called Diva Made Customs.
Diva Made
Customs. And so from there, I got a second store, which was a little bit bigger, which means I had a bigger overhead, which means I had to do some other stuff. So as a DJ, all this lineup, but as a DJ, when I went outside to DJ, even in how I came into my name, DJ Fly Diva, I was a hobbyist DJ before I came outside. I always thought that I was talented. My family always thought that I was talented, but I didn't want a name to make me sound vain as a DJ. You know, some DJs say they're the coldest DJ, they're the best DJ.
I
just wanted to be the flyest DJ.
Okay.
So when I came outside, I was fly. Hair was done. I had the glasses on. I had my earrings. And I'm telling you, I came into, because I evolved from just custom apparel to a boutique. And that happened because every time I went outside, women were literally taking items off my body. I like your glasses. I would sell them to them. I like your earrings. I would give them to them. And so
so you came home with shorts on and
yeah,
tank top with house shoes on. They got my shoes.
But I had a strong dislike for people looking like me when so it took me a long time
but
to
you're
go
so
into
fashionable. And
but I didn't
so
want them
style.
looking like me. But when I got into business, I had to change my mindset.
So you became the face of your business.
I did. And so even this jacket was something that I sold, but I had to make it different. It's cut. It's got patches on the back. If you can see. So a person who bought this out of my store, their jacket don't look like mine. So I still look different. Okay. So then I evolved into custom apparel. And I'm not gonna say I walked away from my store. I downsized my business and took it home.
Okay.
And so I closed the store, and that's around the time when things started happening. When I told you I took a fall, that was around the time of the divorce and all that type of stuff. So I had to figure out a way to make this money. Had a setback, and then I came back. When COVID hit, I got into radio. When I got into radio, I went into radio as a DJ, and I was the 5 o'clock rush hour mix DJ. That's where I started off at with the radio station.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so
They play house music.
Well, I was always stepping.
Stepping,
So
man,
my
I love
introduction into the stepping community happened at about 2020. It all lined up right around the time that things started going wrong in my household. So anyway, it had nothing to do with that. It's just
Okay.
it was around the COVID time. So I started doing mixes on the radio. And I was still selling my custom apparel at the time. So now I have another niche. I was selling to the people at the radio station. Every place I go, I try to get their account
Okay.
for t-shirts and things like that. So they liked my voice. And they asked if I would consider doing a show. And I said no. I just want to DJ. I just wanted to DJ. And so I got triple team. You know, all of them were like, no, we like your voice. We need you. Just try it. So I said, okay, I'll try it. I did it. I hated my voice.
You have a great voice.
I just didn't like it. So long story short, I tried it. One day went to 2 a week, went to 5 days a week. I was on the air and I got bit by the radio bug.
There you go. I love radio. I can't think of a better job to do for a living than radio.
I got bit by the radio bug, but I never stopped all this marketing I was doing. There are so many brands I could name from a social standpoint to a business standpoint where I've done their t-shirts or some form of marketing for them. And as I evolved into radio, it got even bigger because I started doing marketing for a lot of the groups and other radio stations and things of that nature. And I decided to take all my businesses and just merge them. And that's when Fly Media Marketing was born. So I've been marketing the whole time. I just never identified it as such. I used to say I make t-shirts or I make business cards or I make your flyer, but all of that is marketing.
Wow.
All of that is marketing. So Fly is my brand. I started out selling a shirt called Stay Fly. That was my first brand.
Okay.
So Fly is my brand. So you've got DJ Fly Diva, and I spell Fly with 2 Y's all the time. Okay. That's my brand. So DJ Fly Diva, Stay Fly. I own my own radio station. It's flyradio.com.
Flyradio.com.
And then I have Fly Media Marketing. So I took them all and merged them into one package, if you will. And so at Fly Media Marketing, I offer all the services. So from the radio standpoint, I launched my radio station. Actually, it wasn't even to do marketing. If I go back a second,
okay,
I've taught DJing from 2016 up until now.
Like you could teach me how to DJ.
So I started out doing private sessions in my home. And then I got wrapped up in Chicago Public Schools when I got my store. So the beauty of it is multiple streams of income. Everything that I do, I can do it all to the same person. You know, I don't have to separate my streams of income.
Okay.
So when I got the t-shirt business, I got certified for Chicago Public Schools.
Wow.
And so while I was in there, I said, hey, y'all know I DJ, right? And so I started doing a after school DJ workshop with Chicago Public Schools where I taught kids how to DJ. And I had a young man, he went to school with my daughter and he came by for her, I think her 16th, 13th birthday. I think it was her 16th birthday party. And he saw the equipment. He thought it was my husband's equipment. And she said, no, that's my mama's equipment. And he asked me to teach him how to DJ. And I taught him. I blessed him with his first his first DJ set. And after we concluded our teachings, I took him out in the field to actually DJ with me. And it got to the point that when I got to the Chicago Public School part, he was getting ready to graduate, I believe, from that school. And so he knew the students, and he came in as a junior teacher with me.
Wow.
Teaching the DJing. So since that, fast forwarding to now, I do a DJ workshop for women only. And a lot of
the brothers.
The brothers, didn't we just talk about brothers being intimidated? Men are just, I don't know, y'all just too much. Y'all a
Not all
handful.
men.
Y'all a handful.
Not
Not all
all
men.
men. You
But
got-
the women in particular, to me, this is a male-dominated arena, and we need more women. So
Well, you got DJ. What's her name on V103? What's her name?
Sundance.
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 Yeah, Sundance. And you have
Sundance does her thing.
she does. So you have a lot of good DJ, female DJs. That's awesome.
Absolutely, but I don't go soliciting women. I don't go soliciting work. I like for it all to come to me. That just makes it even better. So I had DJ workshop, and the women, one of their biggest complaints was that it was hard for them to get work in this male-dominated arena. They wanted to be heard. Some of them were shy, didn't want to go out and play, and that was what made me launch my radio station. I said I want to have a safe place where after they or while they're learning the craft, they can submit their work, their mixes to my station.
To play, huh?
And that's what made me so. But like I told you, I'm a visionary out of this world. So when I got the station, I said, I got to figure out how to make this station make money. Well, that's where the marketing came in at. So I also do on-air advertising, which is another tool, another vehicle
money, right,
in the marketing ball of things. So Fly Media Marketing is all things marketing. We do custom apparel, which I call brand marketing.
Okay.
We do websites. We do digital and graphic design. So we do video slideshows. A lot of your video slideshows come from Fly Media Marketing.
All of them come from it. And look, my website, you should take it out. She designed everything.
Yes.
I have not designed anything. I ain't taking no credit. This genius right here did it all. I listen to whatever. I listen to what she say. She will take you from A to Z. Don't matter if you know.
Absolutely. I do streaming overlays. So when you guys are doing your podcast and your streams and you need a custom background, that's what a streaming overlay is.
This is my background back here. She did.
What else? QR codes. So we're evolving into this technical world. Actually, we're here in this technical world. And a lot of times I've given out 1 million of business cards, and no one has ever called me from that business card because I always ask, how'd you get my information? It's never from the business card. Okay. And then there are a lot of times when I'm out, especially DJing, and they'll come to me and say, do you have a business card? And it's so embarrassing to say that I don't. And they're looking at me like, how you out here doing all this and you don't have a business card? So I encourage everybody to consider the QR code. Consider the QR code. It's quick, it's easy. Everybody has a phone. You just pull out the phone, open your camera, tap that code. All your information pops up, everything. More stuff than you can even imagine trying to squeeze on that little bitty business card. You can put your name, phone number, email address, several email addresses, websites, social media sites. You can put your Facebook, your Instagram, your TikTok, your Twitch, whatever it is you have, you can put all that there. When you're out in public, they have little tabletop placards, about as big as this microphone, where you can have your QR code on it. It can go on your tablecloths. I've made it on the sleeve of t-shirts.
You know what?
So,
she making me give me my t-shirt. I walk around my QR code.
So it's something that should be considered for those that still walk around with a business card. You will never leave home without your business card with a QR code because it's in your phone.
How can people get in contact with you to use your service and to because I know it's been life changing. I'm not one of those people that just, everybody know me. I don't just bring anybody on my show. I use it. What that show, I'm not just the president. I'm also a client.
Absolutely. So Fly Media Marketing is on Facebook as Fly Media Marketing, 2 Y's, FLYY Media Marketing. I am also, I have a website, flymediamarketing.com. My website is under construction. However, if you go to that website now, it's just going to reroute you to my radio station, flyradio.com. Flymediamarketing.com will have its own source, I'm going to say within the next 5 to 7 days. So that's definitely something you want to put there. But you can subscribe and follow me, Fly Media Marketing on Facebook. I can be reached at 773-482-5885. 773-359-3482. That's 773-359-3482. There are several ways to reach me. As we talked about earlier, I have so many different names and things going on. I am also on Facebook as DJ Fly Diva. I am a DJ for hire. The same information applies to everything. DJ Fly Diva is on all social outlets as DJ Fly Diva. DJ FLYYDIVA. So you can feel free to inbox me, call me, text me, email me, all those things.
Are you single? You know they're gonna be blowing up your.
No, they're not gonna be blowing up my phone. They're not gonna be blowing up my
Alright,
phone.
single.
Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. DJ Fly Diva is there. Else, I feel as if I'm missing something.
Yeah, you.
I feel that flyradio.com is the radio station. I am in the Google Play Store. I'm not in the Apple Store yet. However, if you go to flyradio.com, you can listen to the station directly from flyradio.com. And as an incentive, this is something you probably didn't know. For
Okay.
all my clients that come through Fly Media Marketing, there is a logo of your business on my website, whereas if you click it, it takes them directly to your website.
Wow.
Absolutely.
You know what? I'm honored. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, you know, when you look at all the great things you've told us and all the amazing things you've done and
Mhm.
you're doing, do you ever look at your life and say, wow, or are you proud of yourself? Do you give yourself a pat on the back sometimes?
You know what? I am my toughest critic. I am my toughest critic. I always feel like I'm not working enough. I'm not doing enough. I didn't do it to the best of my ability. And recently, it's funny you asked me that. I applied for something, or I attempted to apply for something. It was an opportunity to do a DJ mentorship with the Chicago Public Library, but I had missed the deadline. But I went through the application process anyway, and it asked for a bio. And it wasn't until I typed all the things I've done that I had that wow moment. You know, it wasn't until I typed that I've been DJing for 15 plus years that I even tap into a little bit of production. On my radio station, I am responsible for 90% of my edits and production. A lot of the imaging and effects and the commercials, I actually voice those myself.
Yes.
I've taught t-shirt workshops. I've taught crafting in Chicago public schools. As I mentioned, I still to this day mentor people interested in DJing. I've just done a lot of things that I did not realize until I was writing that bio. And I said, wow.
You know, that reminds me of a story. A lady said, she said, you have to know your worth for who you are. She said,
Absolutely.
she said she was applying for a job to speak, and she was making a little money, but she said, I'm good enough. I'm going, you know, I was making $250 for 45 minutes. I'm good enough to charge $500. And her resume was oppressive.
Mm-hmm.
And so she charged, she said, I'm looking for 500.
Mm-hmm.
And she knew she did a great interview with the guy and everything. And she said, they said, well, no, we're not interested. She said,
Okay.
I want to call to see why, you know, just to get an explanation. And the guy said, your resume information was impressive, but you said you only wanted $500 an hour, where somebody else had a resume just as impressive. Yours said, I want $5,000 an hour. So we bet $5,000 to speak. So we basically felt like if you only asked for $500 and this person asked for $5,000, they must be better, you know. And so she learned from that her worth. So I mean, because your work is, you know, you can tell a tree by the fruit it bear. You bear amazing fruit. You helping everybody. You're like you know, I can't sing your praises enough because I'll be blown away because I'll be sharing stuff like I did. You know, like, you know.
Well, to piggyback on what you just said, it's that goes back to knowing your client. because when if you're in a clientele of people that are crabs in a barrel, you could know your worth. You could know your worth. And a lot of times people are impressed with what you do until you put a price on it. And then they're not impressed anymore.
Always want,
you'll have people that'll tell you, I don't care what market you're in. You have people that'll tell you, you're the best. Oh my God, you're the greatest. You're the best I ever had. And then when it gets to the price, you want to pay me what you paid the person that was the worst. How does that make sense? So it's a situation where you have to know your clientele. Sometimes your worth might be, you're never bigger than your clientele. I don't like for people to think that, and I'm not insinuating that.
Okay.
You know, I'm not insinuating that at all. Everybody's a customer. Everybody's dollars are good. But if you have a product, I tell people this all the time. They used to come in my store, and I would have, they taught me real quick, right? They taught me real quick. So I would have t-shirts, and everybody wanted a $5, $10 t-shirt. Now, when I would go to the store to purchase my wholesale inventory, and I'm looking at, okay, t-shirts that are maybe less than $3 a shirt. There are even t-shirts that were $1. They all had holes in them. Okay. There were t-shirts that were $2, $3. This is just a shirt wholesale before you put anything on it.
Okay.
Then there were t-shirts that were $7. And I'm learning as I do this business what the difference of these shirts were. Okay. So in a situation like mine, I wanted a clientele that appreciated quality. However, I had a product for people that didn't want to pay for quality. So when you come in my store, I could have this shirt on the wall.
That's deep.
Okay. I can have this shirt on the wall. And if you want this shirt, you can have this shirt. But if you want to spend $10, your shirt's going to feel rough.
Okay.
That's the texture of the cotton. That's the lesser of the brand. So I had all the shirts on the wall. So they come in and, oh, I like this. When they feel on the shirt, it was the sucker move. I put them in the Rolls Royce, and they can't afford the Rolls Royce. I had to walk them back over here to another brand of cars. Okay. So they took this shirt that's soft and silky, and oh, that feels so good. And how much is this shirt? $30. I'm not spending $30. I can put it on that shirt for you for $10. So I had a place for people like that. I just did, because everybody doesn't appreciate, there's a saying that say people have champagne taste with a beer budget, but everybody don't appreciate champagne. They just don't.
Right.
Everybody don't appreciate that. So I learned to have something for everybody, but I know that my profit isn't going to come from this type of a client.
Wow.
I know that. And so they'll look at it like, if you're selling something, in a lot of instances, we're classified as hustlers. And I have to stop people. I'm not a hustler. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not a hustler. So I'm not here to they'll say how much for one shirt. And I tell them $15. Well, how much for two shirts? $30. Well, how much for three shirts? Well, what if you want 10? I tell them $150. And they say, well, where's the hookup? And I ask them, where's my profit? And then this is another question I ask. When you go over there to Nike and you purchase 3 pairs of Jordans, how much do they knock off for you purchasing 3 pairs of Jordans?
Nothing.
And that's just the thing. So I had to learn. They learned me well, as my grandfather would say. They taught me well. I learned business while in business. So if you're interested in being in business, go for it. Go for it. There is no, I'm not going to say there's no right or wrong, but as I said in the beginning, if you don't do it and you don't fail, you don't understand what it's like to win. And now I feel like I'm in a winning season.
Just to let you guys know, I'm getting so many services from her, and she will work with you. I would never, we talked about prices, but when she said something, let's do it. Like, oh, here you go. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it, because it's an investment in yourself.
Absolutely.
And one thing about her, she sees your vision.
Absolutely.
You know, like if I was doing it, stuff would be messed up, you know, but she changes in everything, you know, even this design. When I say what I look for on it, she put everything on it, you know, because I wouldn't have a design with her without her information on it. I just wouldn't, because she's pretty much changed my life. I'm a living tester. I used to see some of my texts and stuff I sent her. I'll be just sending her praise, because it'd be like, okay, I'm thinking this. And then for her to shoot it back to me, like it wasn't, you know, like it was a big deal. Like to me, I've been there like, oh my goodness. So, and you need that. You need that. Absolutely. You need that. And she's so great. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Hopefully rich on an island somewhere with some sand in between my toes.
See how she looked at me when she said that? Between her toes.
I don't know. I've always been a hardworking person. So I was asked before, if you hit the lottery, would you stop working? And my answer was actually no. So I just see myself evolving to a better version of me. In all things, you know, through Christ, all things are possible. And I just see myself evolving to a better version of myself. One of my dreams, and this has always been a dream, because I'm such a give back person. I want a center for mentorship. So kind of like the Kroc Center has the big center.
Oh yeah.
You know, college isn't for everybody. You know, a lot of kids out here that don't go to college, and then some of them just don't have any other options. When we were kids, we had the field house and the wood shops and all the different things. I would love a center that was home to a lot of trades or crafts that would teach kids who don't have any options how to do something, how to make money, how to become an entrepreneur with some of your already God-given talent. There's something great in all of us. And even when I build a team, I don't look at my team as employees. I try to employ entrepreneurs like myself and make it an assembly line. And the reason why I do that,
that's good.
No, seriously, the reason why I do that is when you hire a person, especially what I'm learning in my business, one, they have the attitude that they're here for me. Two, they're just here for the paycheck. But when I hire private contractors, that they're just as passionate about their business as I am. So when I call you now and say, hey, let's just say I hired a person that does print work.
Okay.
And I called this person, but I made this person a part of my team. So technically they don't work for me. But what's happening is I am financially filling them through my clients.
Okay.
And I'm getting what you would possibly call the third party cut, if you will, but we're on the same team.
Right.
So if that's your business, and I call you and I say, I need 5,000 of these printed out, you're going to be on it because that's your business.
Right.
But if you're a person that I'm only paying $15 an hour to, and I say I need 5,000 of these, you're going to call in sick.
Yeah.
Because you're not hungry. You know, you're not hungry.
Okay.
So I like working with entrepreneurs, like-minded people. You know, when it comes to hiring people, my preference is hungry students to the game, students to the craft, whatever it is. When I say student, there's no age there, but a person who has the desire and the passion and the hunger to be whatever it is they're trying to be. Those are the people I like to hire. And one thing that I like to say to entrepreneurs, just something to think about. We've all heard the statement that it takes money to make money. You know, we've all heard that. And in my opinion, if you're scared to spend money, you're scared to make money, because it takes money to make money. And when it comes to marketing,
I love it. When
it comes to marketing, think about this. If you won't invest in your own business, why do you expect the consumer to invest in your business?
That's good.
You know, we all need, even if investing was something as simple as giving the product away for free. That's something that some people, I argue with some of my roundtable business owners about that. They don't want to give it away for free. But my thing is this: you don't have to give the whole thing away for free, right? When you walk through the food court, you see the Asians and the different food that you would never eat, right? But when they hand you that little toothpick and say, taste, before you get 10 steps away from them, you have turned around and got in line to go and buy it.
That's good.
Right? So the same money that you're refusing to invest in marketing and whatever it is, giving away your product is marketing. That's just what it is.
Why do people expect overnight success? How do you deal with people like that?
People do.
They expect because, I should have these many people, and they don't understand the process of it. Explain the process a little bit.
It's a mindset. I think if we change our mindset to be open-minded, patient, and not afraid to gamble in your own business, you don't have to throw away thousands of dollars. All forms of marketing isn't necessarily good for everybody. However, remind me of your question again. I don't want to get too far off base.
Yeah, too late. You already
give me your question again.
No, I'm saying, do people expect
they do
overnight success and they're not weary of the process?
They're not weary of the process. So a misconception is, let's take advertising, for instance, a commercial advertising. A lot of people expect, so I gave you money for advertising. They'll only try 1 month. And it's like the advertising game is repetitive. But what they don't understand is that advertising isn't necessarily going to turn you a sale. What it's doing is increasing awareness that you exist. A lot of people don't even know that you exist. So if you've ran your commercial on anybody's platform for 2 weeks, 30 days, but it's new to that customer's ear. Basically you're purchasing the network of the platform that you've chosen to advertise your brand on. So myself, for instance, as I share your information, I am sharing your information with my network of followers. So they're hearing about you for the first time. Now, come month number 2, month number 3, month number 4, when it comes down to a situation where, let's just say you sell Tire Shine, and the first time you run your commercial, they're learning that Pastor Wright sells Tire Shine.
Okay.
But it's wintertime. They don't need Tire Shine, right? By the time we get to month number 3 or 4 and they hear that jingle in their ear and they're like, oh, Tire Shine. Let me call that guy I heard on the radio station. So a lot of people think that advertising is an instant, well, I paid you X amount of dollars for 30 days and I didn't receive a phone call. What are you doing to help yourself get that phone call?
I have to say that in the last few weeks, even last night when I was listening to Prophet Art, he said, man, you're doing some major things with the radio. I see your commercials. I see your flyers. We got to connect. I want to be on your show again. You got people around. I got people even at church like, man, I love your fly. Man, the stuff that you're doing on the radio. And I'm like, people are watching that I didn't even know watching. And people are commenting. So for me, I'm like, wow, from what I've got so far, I didn't know people's watching. So, it is a process.
It is. And you have to be patient. So that one-time investment isn't the one time that's going to actually turn the profit. You have to keep doing it. Think about the lottery. There are people that's been going to buy them scratch-off tickets for 30 years and ain't hit yet. But they are determined that one day they're going to hit. So it's the same with your business. And it's a couple of questions you should ask yourself. Who are you targeting? Are you spending your money in that demographic? What are you selling? Because some stuff is just hard to sell. People think that if they put it out there that I do this or I do that, what are you targeting? If you do nails and you're advertising to a market of 60 and older that don't care about that anymore, you're not going to get nothing out of that market. You know what I mean? So
you
have to think about that. And that's what my consultation process is. I can identify where we need to go by listening to your goals, listening to what you have done. The things that you have done that work, we'll keep doing those things. But we're going to implement something different just to see if it works. Let's just see if it works, you know?
And let me give some shout out to the owner, Reverend Franklin Morris, Jr.
Yes.
Because he worked, like when I bought the multimedia person, he's like, man, whatever you need, we can work together.
Yes.
And everything.
Yes.
And that's a beautiful thing, because most people be like, especially other radio station owners, be like, man, you know what? Why you got to bring your own multimedia person in? And this, he welcomed with open arms, and she worked, I working, we working. And it's good when we can work together.
Absolutely.
Especially our
Absolutely.
people, right?
Yes. He's the epitome of a like-minded individual. Very good-spirited person, kind-hearted, open-hearted. He was willing to do whatever it took to make it all happen. So kudos to him for that.
Now, when you look at people nowadays, and you look at the direction of technology and everything, is it a hard to keep up with everything, or keep up the Joneses, or are you well versed in all the different technology with the AI and all this other stuff coming? How do you view the future with all this technology coming out?
Technology, it's funny. I talk about technology. I say technology is the reason for all the sinning going on. I say it all the time. Technology is the devil plus. But anyway, I digress. Technology has made a lot of things so much easier for people to do. It's a lot of stuff is done with a click of a button nowadays. It's almost to the point where all you really need is a quick YouTube course and some creativity. And all of us pretty much with a social media platform are considered influencers nowadays.
Oh, I'm an influencer.
You are an influencer. You have an audience and you have a microphone and they're listening to what you're saying. So at the end of the day, I think that technology is good on one end, but on the other end, people are losing jobs as a result to technology.
Wow,
a lot of things are being controlled by AI and automated devices,
robots.
which puts a lot of people in a position where they have to figure it out. They have to figure out how they're going to make ends meet.
Wow. Is this somebody, look at it now, look at it. We almost at 2 hours. I ain't gonna say nothing, but somebody said before the show, I ain't gonna say no names. I'm gonna look at the party. I never did no 2 hour show. This show gonna be
2 hours.
I can't talk for 2 hours. Guess what, y'all? She talked for 2 hours. And I bet she go another hour.
No.
Is it somebody you want to thank that's always been in your corner, or that was a big inspiration to you that you want to thank?
Corey, where do you come up with these questions?
Holy Spirit give me these questions. I have no questions. Whatever the Holy Spirit gives me, that's the one thing about interviewing with me. There is nothing preset. Whatever the Spirit gives me to ask you, I ask you. Because you give me a reason to ask.
The reason why there are a lot of people. The reason why I have a problem with that question is there's so many people that I could think that I don't want to miss anybody. But my parents first and foremost. Our Heavenly Father, all the time. I give praise and thanks up there all the time. My daughter, she's very supportive in everything that I do. I have so many people who have laid hands on me, on my ministry, on my mindset. They've been patient. They've humbled me. In a lot of my circles, I'm the youngest of the pack. I have friends that are 60 years old. And they like sisters to me,
Oh, okay.
So
why?
Just whatever. But there are so many people that were instrumental in who I am today. I am always a student. So no matter how great I get, I am never too big to have a mentor, to have a person to pull me to the side, to have a person to sharpen my pencil when it needs to be sharpened. And it's way too many names to even name. Too many.
Will there be a book and a clothing line coming?
I do want a book. Clothing line. I do have my Stay Fly apparel clothing line. Actually, I just kind of paused that and moved on to some other things.
I don't know why the Spirit told me, but you never told me. I don't know why
I did tell you that earlier today.
Did you? I'm
did.
sorry,
So-
but the spirit wanted me to bring it back up because I think your
This
clothes.
jacket came out of my boutique. Everything fly is stuff. I actually create my own apparel.
You got stuff for me?
I did. So as I mentioned,
Wait a minute. I did. He asked the question. Two people. I do.
I do have things for men. The boutique part of my business is kind of on halt, but in terms of t-shirts, yes, I still have t-shirts for men. T-shirts, jogging
I'll
suits,
show my muscle.
jackets, all that type of stuff. I do all of that.
Okay.
I do all of that.
Just so, what do you think about your interview? You think about being on the show? Did the 2 hours go by quicker? You think?
It did. This is my
Because you've been interviewing a lot.
fourth interview. I was just interviewed. What was I interviewed? I was just interviewed. Was it about a month ago? Dallas TV with a good friend of mine, Adrian Carson. He has a podcast, and I was interviewed on his show. So they get easier.
And why do you think so many people want to interview you? Because you're amazing. You listen. You gonna have to know how amazing you are eventually. You're so humble, but sometimes you gotta, not be humble, but toot your own horn. Like
Everybody tells me that I will never toot my own horn, but all of my interviews, I will say, were for different phases of my journey. My first interview was because I've had a podcast on the radio. It was called The Divas Den. And it was kind of my version of the Strawberry Letter. So people would write in and I would give advice. The second time I was interviewed, I actually had, I don't want to get into the details, but I had a bad experience on one of my DJ trips. And I told my story on a platform. So that was that. And then the third time I was interviewed, it was because the guy wanted to pay homage to female DJs in the stepping community. So I had the opportunity to be there. And then I'm here with you. And this time it's all about my other business.
See? I got that Oprah Winfrey thing going. Oprah, I'm coming for you.
Absolutely.
So now what would you tell somebody, male and female, that's listening now, that may think the journey is too hard, that they're getting everything thrown at them? I said once on my last show that the devil throw fiery arrows at you, darts, and so you can burn up everything around you, so you can concentrate on the fire behind you, around you, and study the promises of God, what's in front of you. What would you say to people who may be in a very bad place right now, don't see how they gonna make it, but they out there now? What would you say to them about it getting better or encourage them?
I would say don't give up. If it's your passion, don't give up. Now, in a situation where you're on the verge of losing things, sometimes we have to tone it down. It's okay to get work or get your money the best way you can, but never give up on the actual business. If it was easy, we all be doing it. It's just not easy. Be patient, be humble. And like I said, invest in you. If you invest in you, if you believe in you, it's hard to sell something that you don't believe in. It's hard to push something that you're not investing in. And one of the biggest things that aggravate me with some business owners is they'll go to another business and try to Jew them down out of their prices. But when you come to their establishment, that's not the way that they do business. So
Jew them down.
Yes, take their price.
The views of my the word Jew.
My apologies. My apologies. let's just find a better word. They try to make them come down in their pricing.
Yes.
Okay, that terminology, I apologize. No pun intended. My air quotes. But my thing is, since we talked about dating and business, be the person that you want to attract. Be that person. Be the client that you want. So if you want a person that's going to come in and pay you top dollar or your price, your worth, it doesn't even have to be top dollar. When you're a consumer, be that same customer. Don't go to another person's place of business and ask for a discount when you're not discounting your own product.
And what about those entrepreneurs that always want to hit the home run? You know,
it doesn't happen that way. In some instances, maybe it does, but it just doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen that way. We have to retool all the time. You just have to retool. Sometimes you have to reel it in. And if you didn't hit the home run, what can I do different to hit the home run?
Okay. Now we got about 6 minutes left.
Okay.
See how fast this 2 hours went. I'm going to open the floor up to you. Leave us the last message you want to leave.
6 minutes worth.
Well, no, I mean, I got, you can, let me see. Yeah. And
well, I feel like we've covered a lot in the past 2 hours, and we both have put a couple of nice gems out there, but when it comes to business, if you do what you love, you'll always love what you do, and you'll never work a day in your life, so when it comes down to choosing a path or deciding if that's the business for you, make sure it's a match. That's one thing we talked about earlier. Don't force it. Be patient. Learn what you're doing. Always be a student. Become a better version of yourself. A lot of people get complacent. We have places that we go and visit that's been there for years, and you'll hear that the service is horrible, but every time you go, it's packed. If you're a business, don't take that for granted. Don't take for granted that I'm always packed. Address the problems. To me, what makes you a good person, especially in business, is how you remedy a problem. It's how you remedy a problem. You're not going to be everybody's favorite. You're not going to have a great day all the time. So as a business owner, you have lots of responsibilities, lots of them. And I don't believe that the customer is always right, but you have to analyze their complaint. A lot of times we don't like being checked. We don't like criticism. Was there any truth to what that person said about you? If it is, fix it. It's okay.
All right. Well, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart doing this. When I asked about the show, because I just felt like a great big voice and talent like yours need to be heard. Listen, use her services. I want you guys out there to bombard her business. You need that, especially I know a lot of entrepreneurs that follow me, follow my show. They got catering business, got all kinds of business. You need her to help you get out there. It's been a great pleasure. Again, she said, I can't do 2 hours. I hear this all the time. 2 hours go by so fast. This has been a great honor having on my show. Next week, join us next week. I will have Pastor Jarvis Hanson on. He has a new book that talks about covenant. And then the following Saturday, I will have Dr. Wilson, civil rights icon, amazing woman, to really talk about what it is that they had to go through and what she's went through for our benefits. And we're going to really talk about that because, I think a lot of people forgot the struggle before, and if we can be reminded of what people before us went through, then maybe we may behave better. So that is going to be one of the interviews of a lifetime to have such a great iconic force in the civil rights movement on my show. It's a great honor to have you on my show and Pastor Hanson on my show. And the Solutions Radio show is going to higher levels. And my show is out there greater than it ever been because of working with your company. And I love it. I love it. I love it. I am so happy that we were able to do this.
Thank you.
So last question. And
okay.
We're going to be a quick catch.
All right.
What is a hidden talent about you that people may not know you do?
A hidden talent.
Like tap dance, cook.
I'm a pool shark.
A pool shark.
Yes.
Now, that's because you're good looking. They looking at the pool. You distract them. They be like,
I like to shoot pool. I think the beauty of me is everything that I told you today about me. There's not very many people that know all of that. Some people know this
Okay.
about me.
Okay.
Then some people know that about me. There are people that don't know I can cook. There are some people that didn't know I was a DJ. I think everybody knows I'm a DJ.
Yeah, everybody knows you're
But
a DJ, but I don't know
there's
you
so
cook.
many different things about me that people don't know. But in my spare time, I enjoy a good game of pool. I'm a competitive person.
Oh, you can throw down some pool?
I like shooting pool. I do. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. That and music itself. And real quick, speaking of music, one last thing I'd like to say. If you are a talent, DJ, always wanted to be a radio talent, I'm looking for talent. So you can give me a call at 773-359-3482. We are the flyest station in the nation, flyradio.com. Your station for music lovers is urban, adult, contemporary music. You have a free space, a free platform to come on the team and be a part of Fly Nation.
And you also going to be in the future having talk show. We're going to the thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, I mean, spill the beans. You just have to look at me like
It's 773-359-3482.
Listen, y'all.
359-3482. Yes. So come on over, be a part of Fly Nation. You do not have to reside in Illinois. I have talent coast to coast.
All right. Hey, there you have it, people. And listen, thank you guys for tuning in. It has been a wonderful show. Remember, if it's a change need to be made, you make that change and get up and be your own rescue. Because,
Absolutely.
you know, God said do it, go do it. Love you guys. See you guys next week. Deuces.
Go to your Apple or Google Play Store and download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
Views made on the preceding program are not those of WVTC Radio, iNetworks Communications, or their financial supporters.
Winning victory through Christ, WVTC Allsip Chicago, and iNetworks Communications Station.